I think many people have encountered a state such as the state of obsession. Perhaps you have seen it in movies, perhaps you just imagine what it looks like in real life, or maybe you even felt it yourself. This is a state when nothing can stop you from doing a certain task. You are in a state of flow, you could say. This is essentially obsession, is a state of flow. And today we are going to talk about how to actually reach this state and whether it is even possible. I think it's worth starting by understanding why people want to become obsessed with something in the first place. The bottom line is that most of us are polygamously minded. We do several things at the same time and try to succeed in all of them. That is, we can do it too, while simultaneously posting videos on TikTok, while doing sports professionally, while doing music at the same time, and so on. Thus, instead of one thing that we go deep into and study 100%, we get about 4 things, then we go deep into at 25% each. And over time, a person begins to realize that they are not succeeding in any single thing. As a result, thoughts like this appear. How do I become obsessed with just one thing? But why do we still try to indulge in several niches at once? Actually, in my understanding, there are several reasons for this. And the first reason is FOMO, fear of missing out. This is when you see that someone is succeeding at something. For example, a person is making money from YouTube, but at the same time you are doing TikTok, but you are not making money from it yet. And you take and move to a new niche, to YouTube, because it seems to you that you are losing an opportunity. And it's the same with music, meaning you see someone succeeding in music and you want to succeed too. The second reason is dopamine spikes. This is easy to notice in yourself. When you start some new business, a new project, you get a powerful release of dopamine. It seems to you that this is something new, it is full of opportunities. But then, after about a week or two, the real routine begins, where it is no longer motivation that is needed, but this discipline. And this moment, dopamine drops, and then your brain begins to gradually realize whether you like it or not, whether you can tolerate it or not, and it begins to look at you for some new sources of dopamine that will give you the exact same sensations you had at the beginning. In reality, this is all just your brain's imagination to get dopamine, and from here flows such a thing that you are not quite. For example, your previous activity. For example, you were doing TikTok, but your brain tells you that, look, I want a new source of dopamine. Let's go into business. Everyone makes money there, they get pleasure there, and so on. And you just start a new project and run it simultaneously with the previous one. But due to the fact that the cycle repeats every 2 weeks, after some time you will be running, for example, 10 projects simultaneously. And because of this, you will burn out incredibly, because you simply won't have time for all these projects, and you will have to cut something off anyway, or return to where you started. The third reason is avoiding difficulty. When you start something new, it all seems simple. You easily find new information, you learn more and more new things, and it seems to you that you are growing incredibly fast in this. And in fact, that's how it is. But in every business, there is a certain information sailing, an initial one, which you can find and look up. Further on, the work begins through discipline and independent searching. Not in every niche can you find absolutely everything right away on the internet. There are niches where you can find some basic information, and the rest you will have to figure out on your own. For example, that's how it works with YouTube or TikTok. You may perfectly understand where to start, how to create an account, how to upload a video, and so on, but you will never know to actually break through the algorithms, how to make reviews correctly, which formats work and which don't. You will have to deal with this on your own, and the brain exactly at this moment when you have to look for something on your own and difficulties appear tries to avoid it so quickly as possible, and it tries to enter more and more new niches where you will get easy dopamine. So now that we know the reasons, let's think about how high the price actually is for scattering our attention across several niches at once. For example, you have 4 things. In this case, we allocate 25% to each thing, or so it seems. But in reality, your brain spends a huge amount of energy switching between projects. Your brain loses up to 40% of its productivity when switching. I think you have noticed this too, when you are doing one thing and then you need to do something else. In this case, you cannot manage your brain at 100%, because your brain, for example, is still focused on the first task. It needs to switch to the second one, but it still won't be able to do it completely. The information in its memory is still connected, for example, with the first task, and because of this, it will not work at 100% in the second task. And when you start moving from the second to the third and from the third to the fourth, there is practically no energy left there at all. I think you understand me. And that scattering your attention is harmful. But what to do then? The answer is obvious, but many try to avoid it as much as possible. We need to choose one thing. Yes, I understand that the hardest thing you can do is to choose just one thing, because if you choose one thing, it means you will have to give up the rest, and this is a very unpleasant process, because in some things you might have already done something, spent a lot of effort somewhere, but effect is effect. You will have to cut off other things anyway. Either that or accept the fact that you will not be 100% involved in a certain business. So how do you choose what to do then? Everything is actually simple. There are several criteria for this. The first criterion is to find the intersection of what you can do, what is interesting to you, and what people are ready to pay for. Because if you don't find this intersection, and for example the business is interesting to you but you don't have the skill, it's hobby, because you just do it and try to grow in it. In the future it can turn into income. If there is skill but no interest, this is just a job. If you have an interest and a skill but nobody is ready to pay for it, then this is most likely just an activity for pleasure. But mostly if you are pursuing some financial goals and so on, then this business essentially needs to be dismissed right away. The second criterion is that I recommended choosing things that have a compounding effect. A prime example of this is YouTube. On YouTube, results accumulate, and each video is not deleted anywhere and does not disappear. It continues to be on YouTube, and it might be noticed, it might not be noticed. In any case, it will always essentially grow. It always brings you some kind of result. For example, any freelance project do not have any compounding effect, because you created one project, you handed it in, and that's it. When the compounding effect works, today you for example made with one video, it got 1000 views. Tomorrow you made another one, it also got 1000 views. Then you made more and more and more, and in the future you will no longer have 1000 views a day, but for example 10,000, then 100,000. It all depends on the videos how might they grow. The third criterion, which you will have to imagine in your head, is not exactly the most mandatory, but it makes sense. This is the will you be doing this in 10 years test. You can just imagine that you will have to do this business for 10 years. How do you feel in this case? Are you pumped up, or on the contrary, does it seem to you that, oh no, 10 years is a lot? If the thought pops up that you will be exhausted and you don't like it, then you can dismiss such a niche right away. If on the other hand, it somehow charged you up and made you happy, then it already has some grounded under it, meaning you generally like it. It's the very thought of it. But I would not recommend focusing too much on this criterion, especially if you are just starting to do something, because you essentially don't know yet whether you will like it or not, because you haven't seen all the hidden pitfalls yet. You haven't seen everything else. The next criterion is what do you do for free. For example, many people who do YouTube or started doing it, they, for example, in their free time just edited something, just told someone about something and so on. Someone just writes codes for themselves, just sits down and writes code. And if you do this business just like that for yourself, then it's one of the important signs, because it will help you do it in permanently basis, and you won't have any kind of burnout. You just like it. In this case, you need to consider the option that this exact niche, which you do just like that, and you are not paid for it yet, but it has potential. You really can issue this, because it is one of the most important criteria. We have decided on the criteria. The time has come for the hardest and at the same time the most interesting part. You have to actually give up projects that you have already started doing, that you are engaged in. In my understanding, there is only one correct method. Perhaps for you it will look somehow different, but for me it's when you sit down and write out your projects on a piece of paper and start asking yourself questions. Would I start doing this over again or not? If the answer is no, when this is usually an immediate candidate for deleting this project instantly. Next thing, will you be able to give this project 100% of your attention right now or not? Think about it. If you are ready to invest 100% into this project, most likely it is one of the favorites to do exactly that. If you immediately cut off this option in your head and you realize that no, by no means, I'm not ready to invest 100% into this business right away, then such an option can be either removed or frozen right away. Now, let's move on to answering the question, is it possible to become obsessed? It is possible. Essentially, the word itself is quite vague. In fact, the state can be described as a discipline that allows you to do something every day. For me, it looks like this. And how to achieve this? How to manage to do one thing every day? The first, most ordinary, most simple tip is sit down and do it every day. You can start with minimal values. That is, if you are doing YouTube, sit down for 10 minutes, for example, to begin with and just watch something. See what you want to do. Try to write your first script. It doesn't have to be perfect, correct, and so on. Just try to write it. You can dedicate as much time to this as you want. 5 minutes, 10, it doesn't matter. The main thing is to do it every day, and gradually it will become a habit. And after that, you will most likely increase the time for this business on your own, because it will literally become part of your life, and you will do it every day simply because you are used to it. The second, no less important thing is immersion in the environment of what you want to do. In my case, for example, it's YouTube. This means you must immerse yourself in this environment completely. That is, surround yourself with the topic. I surrounded myself with the topic when I was looking for answers to my questions. I surrounded myself with a maximum number of videos on this topic, the maximum amount of information on different topics, including my thoughts, which you are hearing now, come partially from what I saw, heard, and formed my own personal opinion on this matter, which helped me. For example, this is what I am explaining to you now. This point is very important. When what you do is around you, then you simply cannot help but start doing something. For example, if you do music and fill your whole house with guitars, then believe me, you will just pick up a guitar at any random moment and play. Go down, I don't know, for example, from the stairs, pick up a guitar and play. You will do same things there. For example, in the kitchen, pick up the guitar that stands near the refrigerator. Just play some melody. And this works quite simply. I think you understand this perfectly. And now, one of the most important clarifications. Obsession is a powerful tool, but I think everyone understands that even an obsessed person sooner or later gets worn out by this business. When you do this business endlessly at 12 hours a day, it will simply burn you out, and banally you will not enjoy at all. The essence of the state of obsession, the state of flow, is about the quality of your focus. That is, you better completely immerse yourself in business for 3 or 4 hours, for example. It doesn't matter. You better immerse yourself in these hours completely, then allocate 12 hours for yourself and say, I will only do this. But this 12 hours will be so smeared out that there will be, for example, an hour of work. The other 11 hours, you will sit on your phone, procrastinate, play games, and then do something else, and it will seem to you that you've worked for 12 hours. Although in fact, it is not so. I personally just allocate time for myself. Like I sit, I have, for example, 3 or 4 hours for work, and I sit without being distracted. That is, I just put the phone away, turn off games and so on, and just sit and work for 3-4 hours. This does not cause me any discomfort for me. It's not much to sit for 3 or 4 hours. I just sit and do what I do. That's it. In this case, it's very useful and very important to keep this in mind. The next is your physical health. This is straight up the foundation that you must just improve, without which everything else simply won't happen. I'm not saying that you need to go to the gym and so on. I'm talking just about banal things. This is minimally at least 7 or 8 hours of sleep, trying to adjust the circadian sleep rhythms of yours so that you get enough sleep and you are comfortable. I don't know what time you go to bed and what time is most convenient for you to get up. What time is more convenient to go to bed? You select all this individually for yourself. The main thing is that you are comfortable. Also, try to just eat better. I'm not saying to eat only perfect and proper food. Just try to eat better. Eat an apple instead of a candy bar sometimes, for example, and gradually introduce proper sleep and this food into your diet. Okay, let's talk about rest. Essentially, for example, personally, I don't really need it if I work 4 hours a day. But if you spend more times, yes, for example, about 8 hours, you are working on this really hard, then I would recommend you that allocate at least 1 day a week for total rest, where you will not work and will not think about project. I understand that your thoughts will come about the project anyway, because, well, if you do this, you will scroll out some thoughts in your head anyway, but don't do it intentionally, because when you just don't think about the project, very important and very cool thoughts can fly into your head just by themselves. You don't regulate them, and you don't look, you don't follow them, they just fly in like that, and you can make like a note to yourself. Yes, that's such a thought camp, and when you have a work day, you can test it or just apply it somehow. The next is the point is to accept that you will not have a constant state of pleasure and joy when you are doing some business. Understand that even in a state of obsession, boredom does not go anywhere. Boredom, it remains, because still, most of your work is routine. For example, you need to do something, like someone likes writing a script, for example, but doesn't like editing videos. But the video has to be made, and without editing there is no video, or vice versa. Someone likes editing but doesn't like making a script, and you only have two choices left here. You either need to Android it, well, there is nothing wrong with that, it's good. It's not even that you have to Android it, but simply you badly need to do it, or in the future it will be necessary to delegate it to someone. But if you don't have such an opportunity, then you just have to come to terms with it, that part of your business brings you boredom. It's like cooking in the kitchen. You like to cook, but you don't like to wash dishes. But what can you do? You will have to wash the dishes. There is no getting away from it. Summarizing everything that I said, in order to become obsessed, you need to remove everything superfluous and find what you truly like. This is actually the simplest truth, but it is fact. There is no getting away from it. Everyone talks about it. Everyone presents indifferently. That is right, wrong, everyone has indifferently. But in fact, I am sure that this is the only thing that can help you do what you like. Because no matter how you convince yourself, no matter how you try to force yourself to do something, you won't like it if you don't have interest in it. In my case, I thought that I had no interests until I remember my childhood, how I shoot videos about Minecraft there, where I passed something, did something, shot videos. I didn't upload them, of course, all these videos, but the fact itself, I liked it very much, and I was doing it. But then, due to the fact that it was in childhood, I forgot about it, and only a few years ago, when I was actually trying to find what I like, I realized that I liked shooting videos. I liked somehow bringing pleasure to people, helping them, or something like that, and that's exactly why you see this video now. Because I liked it and like doing it, only in connection with this. So try to find what you like as much as possible, and then everything will definitely work out for you. Good luck to everyone.